It was a crisp October morning in the quiet town of Alder Creek, Oregon, when 8-year-old Ivy Monroe disappeared from her own driveway, vanishing without a sound, just minutes after waving goodbye to her older brother. No screams, no signs of struggle, just her scooter lying in the grass. For 2 years, not a single trace was found, until a janitor cleaning a public restroom at a remote rest stop nearly 80 miles away made a chilling discovery that changed everything. What could a child's hairband, taped to the underside of a sink, mean 2 years after a disappearance? Ivy Monroe was the kind of child who made strangers smile. Her laugh was loud, her hugs were tight, and her questions endless. To her mom, Laura Monroe, she was everything. Her miracle after years of infertility and heartbreak. Ivy had a way of turning the most ordinary days into stories worth retelling. But no one would ever forget the story of what happened on October 14th. The Monroes lived in a safe neighborhood, the kind with tire swings, front porch lights, and golden retrievers lounging in driveways. That morning, Ivy was outside by 7:52 a.m., waiting for the bus with her older brother Caleb, who was in middle school. Caleb's bus came at 8 o'clock. Ivy's was due 10 minutes later. She never made it to school. At 8:10 a.m., the bus driver pulled up to find no one at the stop. Just Ivy's pink scooter laying sideways in the dewy grass. A neighbor's doorbell camera, the only nearby security footage, caught Ivy waving to Caleb at 8:01, and then nothing. No cars, no people, no sound. Within hours, police had set up a search perimeter. By sunset, a full community effort was underway. Helicopters, dogs, thermal drones, the works. But Ivy had vanished as if the earth had swallowed her. Lauren was inconsolable. It's like she evaporated, she sobbed into a news microphone. She was right there. Someone had to see something. But no one saw anything. No screams, no vehicles, and no evidence. Until Detective Mark Redford had seen some hard cases, but this one cut deeper. A child disappearing in broad daylight, with no witnesses and no forensic trail, made no sense. They canvassed homes within a 2-mile radius. Canines were brought in, tracing Ivy's scent from the driveway to the curb, and then nothing. The trail stopped cold. No skid marks, no signs of chase. It was as though she had stepped off the edge of the world. The Monroes were interviewed extensively. No enemies, no custody battles. Lauren was a school nurse. Her ex-husband had died 5 years prior in a work accident. Nothing pointed to family involvement. Suspicion briefly turned to a delivery van seen 2 streets away, but the driver had a verified route and dashcam footage showing no interaction with Ivy Street. Detective Redford's team built a full timeline. Ivy was last seen at 8:01. The neighbor's footage blacked out at 8:03 due to a malfunction. By 8:10, she was gone. The FBI joined the investigation. Amber alerts, roadblocks, psychic tips, false confessions. Nothing led anywhere. The case grew cold until a maintenance worker cleaning a remote highway rest stop found something strange duct taped beneath the sink. 2 years passed. Lauren moved, unable to bear the empty bedroom. Caleb grew quiet, distant. The town painted a mural in Ivy's memory, but the pain never left. Then, on November 6th, 2 years and 23 days after Ivy disappeared, a call came in from the Oregon State Police. A janitor, Miguel Rivera, had been deep cleaning the women's restroom at a remote rest stop off Highway 38, a place seldom visited except by long-haul drivers or campers. While unscrewing a loose pipe beneath one of the sinks, he noticed something oddly shiny taped to the underside. It was a pink and white striped hairband, faded but intact, taped beneath with heavy-duty duct tape. The kind Ivy wore nearly every day. Miguel didn't think much until he remembered the missing posters that had once been plastered near the vending machines. He reported it. The item was sent to forensics. DNA testing confirmed the impossible. It belonged to Ivy Monroe. Detective Redford, long since rotated off the case, was immediately called back in. Lauren collapsed when she heard. She was there. She was alive 2 years ago. But that wasn't all. In the same bathroom stall behind a warped toilet paper dispenser, crime scene techs discovered a second item, A crumpled candy wrapper with child-sized fingerprints, half smudged, half preserved. 3 prints matched Ivy. The prints were fresh. Either Ivy had been there recently, or someone wanted them to believe she had. If Ivy had been at that rest stop recently, someone had either kept her alive, or someone wanted the world to believe she still was. The Oregon State Forensic Lab prioritized the evidence. In addition to the pink hairband and the candy wrapper bearing Ivy's prints, investigators swabbed the underside of the sink, the duct tape, and even the rusted pipe Miguel had been replacing. What they found sent chills through the task force. Mixed in with Ivy's DNA was an unknown male profile, a partial match to someone already in the state database. The problem? The match was incomplete, a familial partial. That meant whoever left their DNA under that sink wasn't in the system, but a close relative was. Detective Mark Redford reviewed the reports under the dim glow of a desk lamp. He'd come out of early retirement for this. He hadn't been able to let Ivy's case go, and now it was pulling him back like a ghost begging to be seen. He stared at the DNA match report. Subject connected to Vincent Harlow. Last known address: Duneside RV Campground, Coos County. Redford remembered the name. Harlow had been flagged once. A meth charge from 2015, served time, then vanished off radar. But the DNA wasn't his. That meant the sample came from a relative, likely a son or brother. He made a call to the campground. A manager confirmed someone named Kyle Harlow had been staying there on and off for the last year, using a converted van parked near the forest edge. Quiet guy, never made trouble. Redford's gut twisted. What if Ivy hadn't vanished, but had been held captive in a van, moving from site to site? By the time law enforcement reached the campground, Kyle Harlow's van was gone. Left behind, a pile of ash from a burned campfire and 2 broken zip ties hidden in the brush. A BOLA was issued. Meanwhile, Laura Monroe was brought in to view the new evidence. The moment she saw the hairband, her knees gave out. She wore it that day. I tied it myself. Caleb, now 15, refused to speak. He locked himself in his room and smashed the framed picture of him and Ivy at a pumpkin patch. Something inside him cracked that night. Redford knew the window was closing. If Ivy had been alive weeks ago, Harlow might panic now that the police were closing in. They needed to find the van. A week later, the van was spotted, abandoned behind a shut-down sawmill near the Rogue River. CSI swept in. Inside they found rope fibers, a child's sock, empty food wrappers, and something stranger, a set of old-school worksheets with childlike writing. Ivy's name was scribbled in the corner of one, dated February 2024. It was now December 2025. One worksheet asked, "What is your dream?" In shaky letters. "To go home. Please let me go." "I'm sorry," I screamed, but no sign of Ivy. No blood. No body. They were close. Too close. She had been alive, at least this year, and she wanted to go home. A forensic analyst named Jody Sanders came across a disturbing tip. A hidden forum on the dark web hosted by an anonymous user named ForestWatcher 1999 had posted blurry images of a child inside a camper. Photos timestamped just 4 months ago. The girl's face was partially obscured, but Jody enhanced the photo and found a familiar scar under the girl's lip. It matched Ivy's from when she fell off a swing set at age 6. The posts were traced back to a user bouncing through encrypted proxies. But a break came when one image contained GPS metadata. Someone forgot to scrub the file. It led to a location, Reed Gulch Canyon, an abandoned mining area turned unofficial campsite deep in the woods. The forest had always been the edge of this story, but what they found there was beyond what anyone expected. A multi-agency task force descended on Reed Gulch at dawn. They swept the area with K-9 units and drones. Roughly 2 miles in, a bloodhound caught a scent. What they found wasn't a cabin, but a collapsed root cellar covered in moss and leaves camouflaged beneath earth. Inside were scattered objects, a torn child's blanket, and empty juice box finger drawings on the dirt wall. A son, a dog, a house. No Ivy, but someone had lived there. A child. Recently. Then came the next clue, tucked in a gap between bricks, a Polaroid. It showed Ivy, pale and thin, holding up a makeshift sign. "Ivy, Age 10. I'm here. Lauren broke when she saw it. Screamed like the day Ivy disappeared. She's alive. Oh God. She's alive. But someone else had been there too. Watching. Waiting. A footprint. Size 12. Freshly pressed outside the cellar. Investigators left cameras and motion sensors hidden near the cellar. They didn't clean the site. They wanted whoever had been returning to think nothing had changed. 2 nights later, at 3:42 a.m., motion sensors went off. Thermal drone footage showed a lone figure entering the cellar area. Redford watched from a surveillance truck, breath held. The man emerged 6 minutes later, but he wasn't alone. A girl followed, holding his hand. The team moved in fast. The man fled into the woods. The girl stood frozen, hands shaking. When officers reached her, she whispered, "Is my mom still mad at me?" It was Ivy Monroe. Ivy had been alive for 775 days. She was hospitalized immediately, malnourished, dehydrated, but alive. The first thing she asked for was a red crayon and paper. Lauren collapsed the moment she saw her. Ivy hesitated. "Are you mad?" And Lauren just wept and wept. Ivy told them things in fragments. He said, "I messed up. That mommy gave me away because I screamed. We lived in 3 vans. Then he made a fort in the woods. I wasn't allowed to look out. He said I wasn't allowed to be seen. Not after the last girl." The last girl. Detectives now believe Kyle Harlow wasn't working alone. There was a network, possibly even traffickers. But Ivy had survived, and she remembered names, locations, sounds. She was the key. Unresolved hope Kyle Harlow was still at large. The FBI was now coordinating a broader investigation into possible links between missing children across 3 states. Lauren never left Ivy's side. Caleb apologized in tears. "I should have waited longer. I should have," but Ivy hugged him. "You're still my best brother." The house filled with life again. But every knock on the door made Lauren flinch. What about the last girl Ivy mentioned? And why did Harlow tell Ivy, "They'll never find the locker unless you talk"? Ivy Monroe has been found alive after 2 years in captivity. But her haunting words, "He said I wasn't the first girl, and they'll never find the locker unless I talk," hint at something darker and unfinished. VY spent her first night home clinging to her mom. She hadn't slept indoors in months. Every noise made her flinch. The fridge hum, the ticking clock. Even her brother's soft footsteps brought tears to her eyes. In a quiet therapy session 2 days after her rescue, Ivy revealed something strange. Her voice was small, her words careful. He had a book. It had maps, places with red XS, and a locker key. But he told me if I opened it, she would die. The other girl. "What other girl?" the therapist asked gently. Ivy looked down. "The one before me. I saw her picture once. She had brown hair. She wore a blue dress." Detective Redford, listening from behind the one-way mirror, felt something inside twist. Ivy wasn't just a missing child. She was a witness to something bigger and darker. What if Ivy wasn't Harlow's first victim, but his only survivor? Back in evidence storage sat the van, still being processed piece by piece. Among the rubble and mess, tech analyst Jody Sanders found a water-damaged field guide tucked inside a hidden pouch under the passenger seat. It wasn't just a nature guide. It had hand-drawn overlays on state park maps. Red XS marked rest stops, trailheads, and even abandoned cabins. 17 of them in total. Each had a 2-digit code beside it. Inside the back cover was something more disturbing. A piece of masking tape stuck to the cardboard with 3 faint words written in ink. Locker. Girl. 29. Redford stared at it for nearly a minute. Could 29 refer to location number 29? A numbered locker? The closest to X was marked near Grady's Wash Trail, just east of Medford. There was a dilapidated ranger station there, shut down years ago. What would be hidden in a decades-abandoned ranger station, and why had Ivy's captor marked it? The team arrived at Grady's Wash at dawn. The air was sharp, the trees brittle with frost. The old ranger station stood like a skeleton of wood, half-rotted, roof caved in, moss-covered windows. But the locker room inside? Still intact. They searched all 30 lockers. Number 29 was jammed shut. Crowbarred open, it gave way with a metal scream. and inside sat a locked ammo box, sealed tight with a padlock. Inside that, 3 Polaroids of Ivy during captivity, a small flash drive, a torn page from a child's book, and a necklace, child-sized, with the initials ES. Ivy never owned a necklace. But 6 months before Ivy vanished, another girl had gone missing in Central Oregon, 9-year-old Ellie Stroud. Her case had gone cold within weeks. The necklace had been hers. If this locker was a trophy box, how many others might be out there? The flash drive was encrypted, but FBI cybercrimes broke through. It contained 6 folders. Only 2 had video files. Each showed dimly lit, grainy footage of children sitting in small rooms. One was Ivy. One matched Ellie's photo. No adults appeared on screen. But someone, a male voice, gave directions. Say your name. Say what you did wrong. Now beg. Redford had seen horrors before. This one stayed with him. They showed the clips to Lauren. She broke. My baby. Oh God. But Ivy, watching silently from the corner, whispered, he made us. He said if we didn't smile, he'd bury the other girl under the cabin. That word again. Cabin. She remembered something else now. A smell. Gasoline. He had a map with green dots. One said Cabin B, final. A final cabin. It took 6 more days to decrypt the remaining data. Inside the file structure, they found GPS metadata embedded in one video. It matched a stretch of forest land owned by a shell company in Northern California. When they pulled satellite images, the signature of a man-made structure appeared, covered with camo netting and logs. A raid was authorized. Inside the shack, the smell hit them first. Mildew, decay, something worse. But in the far corner, a small concrete hatch. It opened to a bunker. No people, but bedding, chains, children's clothes, and in a shallow grave outside, remains. Dental records later confirmed it was Ellie Stroud. Lauren collapsed into Redford's arms. If you hadn't kept looking, she whispered. Caleb apologized to Ivy again. I should have waited with you. I'm so sorry. She hugged him tight. You found me anyway. Ivy slowly began speaking more, sharing what she remembered. Being moved at night, blindfolded, told her mom had traded her. The threats, the lies. A sketch artist helped Ivy draw the inside of the bunker. She remembered the color of wires, the hum of generators. Every detail added fuel to the FBI's growing investigation. Meanwhile, Kyle Harlow remained missing. But Ivy had remembered something useful. He had a tattoo of Sparrow on his wrist and a burn mark, like a circle. That was enough. The composite was distributed to truck stops, Forest Service bases, ex-con networks. And then, just before New Year's Eve, a report came in from a Montana truck stop. Kyle Harlow was arrested on December 29th at a gas station in Livingston, Montana. He tried to run. A state trooper tossed him mid-sprint. Inside his duffel bag, wigs, burner phones, and a notebook with dozens of female names, ages, and numbers. Only 3 were crossed out. 2 were known, Ivy and Ellie. The third? No one knew. Ivy's story shook the country. News networks picked it up. A national conversation began about long-haul trafficking routes, rest stops, and the hidden dangers of America's roadways. Lauren turned Ivy's room back into a place of light. Caleb started writing poetry. Redford was asked to consult on missing child cases nationwide. He said yes, because Ivy taught me one thing. Even a 2-year-old cold case can still burn. Ivy, now 9, told a therapist something profound. I'm not scared anymore. He took my voice, but I found it again. And maybe I can help find the others. They say time heals all wounds. But in missing persons cases, time is the cruelest enemy, stretching the silence, deepening the hole. For 2 years, the Monroe family lived in limbo, a world frozen by a driveway and a scooter in the grass. But now, they live with light again. Ivy survived. She endured, and she helped find the truth. Not all stories end this way, but maybe this one gives hope. Because if a pink hairband taped beneath a sink can unlock a web of darkness, then maybe, just maybe, someone else's clue is still out there, waiting to be found. What would you do if your child vanished without a trace? Would you keep searching? Would you believe in a single clue? Tell us in the comments. Subscribe for more true crime-inspired emotional stories. And don't miss our next mystery. She left a note in a trail register, then vanished from the mountain.